I guess he really is a rotten kind of guy. Welcome to the St. Canard Files, a Darkwing Duck podcast. I'm your host, Will Santana, and
I'm Mike Russo, and who is this pushy kid?
all right, Mike, we got a fun episode today that no one ever talks about, dude. This episode is so underrated.
It really, really is. I put it in my top 5 underrated episodes video. I love this one.
And I remember when you mentioned it, and well, no, you didn't mention it to me. You recorded your episode, your video, and when I was editing the episode, I'm like, "Damn it, I forgot about this episode."
It's really funny. It's definitely one of the funniest.
Yeah, man. So, Mike, man, the family doing okay, man?
Yeah, we're all good. Life is slowly returning to normal.
Okay.
How about you?
I'm doing okay, man. I got a job interview, and it's a weird interview. It's with my same company, Blue Cross Blue Shield. I just put my business out there. But basically, I have to record myself on video for this interview. It's like a pre-quiz thing. Like they'll have the questions pop up on the video. I push record and say my answers, and then I got to send it back. So I still got to cut my hair, still got to shave, still dress up, at least from, I guess, the waist up minimum.
I'm still rocking quarantine hair over here. I desperately need a haircut.
Yeah, so I got to figure out how I'm going to record it, because my man cave is the best place to record, but I got like
pops and stuff behind you.
Yeah, pops and movie posters.
That doesn't look professional.
No, not at all. Oh man, so yeah, I got to knock that out, man. But how's work going for you, man?
It's going to be really interesting. We're recording this on July 1st, and on a Wednesday. On Monday, I officially go back to work full-time with my kids, but we're going to be outside all day long, wearing masks, social distancing. It's going to be... I've been doing early childhood education for 22 years. This is the weirdest thing I'm ever going to have to do. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm anxious. It's going to be strange. But it'll be nice to work again full-time. It's been almost 4 months.
Oh, okay, man. So, Mike, for the people listening to us for the first time, where can they find us at, man?
Every podcast app, it seems. I can't think of any major ones we're not on. We're on Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, iTunes, Pocket Cast, Radio Public. We're on YouTube. We have videos up on YouTube, including, I'll just keep plugging it, our virtual panel. Mm-hmm. We are on iHeartRadio and Pandora. And, of course, if you have an Amazon Echo, you can speak into it. It'll play the latest episode for you.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have any shout-outs today, Will?
I got I'm going to just say 2 or 3 today. I want to give a shout-out to Katia Miles. She's very supportive of us. She's like, when I can't get a hold of Terry McGovern, that's who I go through. So she gets it done for me, you know? And yeah, she gets it done. Shout out Katie Lee for sharing our podcast and sharing the virtual panel. She finally shared it on Facebook. She did it on Instagram and on Twitter. So shout out Katie Lee. Yeah, appreciate that so much. And then shout out to our Zoom chat crew, man. We love you guys, man.
Mm-hmm. Too many of you guys to name. We have a really big following on the Zoom chats now, but you guys know who you are.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Mike, man, let's go ahead and get into this very fun, underrated episode. Wait. Before we do that, man, shout out to Tori, man. Tori Stone, congratulations on your graduation. We know you listen to the podcast, and you're going to hear this a lot later after your graduation, but shout out to you, man. Congratulations.
Oh, congratulations, Tori. We love you, Tori. You know, if people who don't know who Tori is, she's spent a lot of time recently painting rocks as Darkwing Duck characters.
Mm-hmm.
She has this whole collection of almost every Darkwing Duck character painted on a rock. It's really cool. Congratulations on your graduation, Tori.
Yeah, man. All right, so Mike, let's go ahead and get into this, and let's talk about our production and air date, man.
We didn't name the episode.
Oh, we sure didn't. We've just been hyping. We've been hyping it up. What is the name of the episode?
Disguise the Limit, which is a play on the phrase "the sky's the limit." So disguise the limit. And yeah, our original air date was Tuesday, November 26th, Thanksgiving week, 1991. And it was 59th in production order. This is the latest one we are doing so far.
Okay, it's 59. That's way back there. About 3/4 of the way.
Yeah, it's deep. It was toward the end of the original production run.
Mm-hmm.
Our story editor is Kevin Crosby Hops. And our writer is Doug Langdale. And this is the start of a string of really good ones by Doug Langdale. which include My Valentine Ghoul, Stress to Kill, and Inside Binky's Brain.
Ooh,
so
you just named some good ones, dude.
The next few times we mention Doug Langdale, it's going to be some really fantastic episodes. And this one is super, super hilarious. This is one of his best ones.
Name them again?
My Valentine Ghoul, Stress to Kill, and Inside Binky's Brain.
Oh, I love him.
Doug Langdale was a great writer. He's one of the best Megavolt writers, for sure. I love his work.
I can't even... You know what? Between those three... I don't even know which one I like the most. I know Inside Binky Brain really stands out, but
My Valentine is hilarious.
Yeah, and then My Valentine Go, you got Morgana and Negaduck.
Oh, I love that episode so much.
Yeah, man. So like, oh my god, I don't even know where to go. You know what? I'm not. All right, we'll say that for another day, man.
Yeah. Okay. No problem.
Let's move on.
Animation, we got Sun Woo. I would say nothing fantastic, although I like the job they do in Darkwing's transformations, all the squash and stretch. I think that's okay. I can't think of anything else that's really all that fantastic, but they're all right. What do you think?
There was one scene I liked. It was when Negaduck and Darkwing were falling off the bridge, and you could see all of St. Canard. They didn't just make it bland. Like, they really did put some time into the colors of the buildings. Each building was a different color and had lights coming out and stuff, you know?
Sun Woo has their moments. They definitely do.
But that's about it, though. Like, nothing really, really popped, though.
Yeah. Again, like I said, I like the transformation scenes, but yeah, nothing really pops too much in this one. So I got some news about this one. Much like Bad Tidings, I have read the script to Disguise the Limit. I have read the scripts to 4 different Darkwing episodes, and it turns out I think all the ones I've read were from Ron Feinberg's personal collection, because all the scripts I've read have Grizzly Cough in them. So I think they were his scripts. And I'm mentioning this really early on, because there was an entire opening sequence in this episode that includes a fight between Darkwing and Negaduck that was cut out of the episode, that never got made. And I want to go into a little bit of detail because it's actually really cool, and it's a shame it didn't make it in the episode. The episode is supposed to start with Negaduck, who's only seen in a shadow, like a silhouette, robbing a museum. And then another shadow, which is clearly Darkwing, makes his entrance. And I don't know if you noticed, Darkwing gets no entrance line in the finished episode, but he gets one in this deleted opening. His entrance line is, "I am the pepperoni on the pizza of panic." And the two of them fight in the museum. It's cool. The episode was supposed to start with a fight scene. Darkwing hides in a wicker basket. Negaduck sticks knives in it and says, "Let's see you fight crime as a pincushion." And then Darkwing crushes Negaduck with a mace and says, "Let's see you commit crimes as a pancake." Negaduck falls out a window and into a dumpster. And Darkwing says, "Let this be a lesson to you, larcenous lookalike. The criminal always loses." And Negaduck thinks about it and goes, "The criminal always loses." And then realizes, hey, wait a minute. I can use that idea to my advantage. So this opening sequence sets up what Negaduck is about to do. It must have been removed because it was just too long. You know, the episodes have to come in at a certain time. But that's our opening scene. That's how this episode was supposed to start. But Will, in the finished episode, how does it start?
Negaduck is robbing a bank disguised as DW.
Except for one part. What part of his costume does it never change?
The mask.
It's always black. He robs a bank. The bank security guard is voiced by Scott Bullock. Since I mentioned that, which news reporter do you think is in this one?
Tom Lockjaw.
Yeah, he's coming up in a little bit. So tell me about Negaduck's crime spree.
Yeah, he steals someone's girlfriend. He steals some newspapers. Yeah, and then we get Darkwing rescuing a cat from a tree.
Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. We have a scene of Negaduck up on a roof. And he gets the iconic line. What's the line?
Negaduck, a rotten kind of guy.
And how about this for cartoon logic? He takes off the Darkwing costume. When he takes off the costume, he's wearing boxer shorts with a skull and crossbones on them. He flips the costume inside out to his usual costume, puts it back on, and the boxer shorts mysteriously vanish. Okay, so yeah, now we move on to Darkwing. What's Darkwing doing?
He's rescuing a cat from a tree.
How does that end up going for Darkwing?
Not too well, because the cat ends up beating him up. He doesn't like strangers.
No, and Darkwing doesn't listen to the lady. He goes, "Is that true, pretty woody princess?" And then the cat attacks him. Mm-hmm. And so a whole mob of people show up, out for blood.
Yeah. And but Darkwing doesn't know that. He's thinking like, hey, they want autographs or signed pictures, and
he's like, have 1, 10, take them all.
Yeah. So he runs up out of there, and then he stops by like what was it, a TV store or something, or just had
like one of those old timey electronic stores with TVs in the window.
Mm-hmm. And then that's where we get Tom Lockjaw, and he announces that not announces, he's reporting that DW is the villain, and the mayor has offered a reward for him for $1 million.
Yeah, among the many things that Darkwing is wanted for, 2 of them are insider trading and spitting on the sidewalk. And Darkwing's mad because he assumes he's worth at least $10 million.
Yeah. But then the lynch mob shows up again.
Guns out. Yeah, Darkwing gets shot point blank in this scene. He even says, I knew I should have voted for gun control." That's still kind of timely these days. It's a timely joke. Yeah, and they open fire on him.
Yeah, but then we get a transition, and now he's at Shush.
It's been a while since we've seen Shush, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, Grizzly Cough. We haven't seen Grizzly Cough in a while.
Yeah.
So Darkwing comes in. Grizzly Cough immediately jumps him. Because Grizzly Cough wants the $1 million, or as he says, the $1 million bugs will be mine. Because Grizzly Cough's English is terrible. Mm-hmm. But Hooter knows that Darkwing's innocent because Darkwing was playing Parcheesi with him when the crime wave hit.
Yep. So he's got an alibi.
Yeah. So Hooter knows Darkwing's innocent. Mm-hmm. This is the only episode in which Hooter, Grizzly Cough, and Sara Bellum all appear at the same time. And it's also Sara Bellum's last episode, in production order and by air date.
Okay, so this is the end of her.
This is the end of her, yep. It's one of her bigger episodes, too. She comes back later, too, not just for one scene. They have a ray. It's called the Molecumorphic Disguiser Ray. Mm-hmm. What is she going to do with this ray, Will?
She's of course, she wants to win the Nobel Prize, as always. Of course. Yeah, and then 2, it's supposed to give you, turn you into like, well, not turn you, but it's supposed to give you a disguise.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you notice the screen on the ray? It's Mr. Potato Head.
Yeah, I saw that.
It even says it in the script. It's Mr. Potato Head on the screen. and that's what the animators drew. So they zap Darkwing with it, and nothing seems to happen at first.
Yep, but then he turns into Grizzly Cough.
Can I just say, Jim has his work cut out for him in this one.
Oh, yeah.
He's not just doing Darkwing and Negaduck. Whenever Darkwing changes in this episode, Jim has to imitate the other characters, but as Darkwing imitating the other characters. Mm-hmm. That's a skill.
There's only one of them I thought he kind of struggled with, but we'll get to that later.
Mm-hmm. He's pretty good at Grizzly Cough, though. Mm-hmm. So he transforms into Grizzly Cough, and then transforms into Bellum. But then what happens to the ray?
It stops working.
It doesn't work, and then Bellum goes to fix it. Darkwing turns into Bellum, and as they're arguing over the ray, they break it.
Yeah.
And there goes Bellum's Nobel Prize.
Yeah, and then she realizes that whatever Darkwing looks at, that's what he turns into. And
not just that, he really thinks he's the person he turns into, with no memory of who he is when it happens. So that's a major inconvenience.
Yep.
And their suggestion, so it doesn't happen, is to put a bag over his head.
Or a blindfold, right?
Blindfold. I'm sorry. You are absolutely correct. Mm-hmm. And I mention it because the joke is repeated in a minute or so.
Yeah. Because now we get another cut scene, and he's riding with LP and Gaz.
Mm-hmm. And who mentions the blindfold? Launchpad, right?
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna stop just for a second, Mike. Sure. I did like this the animation on this scene they did with Gaz when she was talking about a vampire or something.
There's vampire zombies, of course.
Yeah, and she reminded me of Night of the Living Spud. What was the name of the potato?
Posey.
Yeah, she reminded me of that.
Yeah, I love it when Goslin goes on about zombies, sometimes she grows fangs.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's funny. It's it's a cartoon. It's Darkwing Duck. I love it when they do that. Before we get to what happens next, there is one scene that was in the script, didn't make it into the episode. If you're wondering why Darkwing doesn't just go to the police, he actually does in the scene right now. He jumps off the rat catcher, goes to the police, and the police are like, "No, you're a wanted criminal. We're not going to believe anything you say." And the only way Darkwing gets out of it is he transforms into a police officer so he can get away.
Mm.
And then they're back on the rat catcher. And what do they almost drive into?
A chihuahua, but that was the weirdest, ugliest looking chihuahua I've ever seen.
It looks a bit like the chihuahua from Oliver and Company.
Man, it looked like a cat to me.
Yeah, chihuahuas are really ugly dogs to begin with. So they crash. Darkwing's hat falls on the chihuahua. This is where the episode starts getting really funny. Darkwing's hat falls on the chihuahua, and Goslin and Launchpad think he's turned into a dog.
Yeah, and they start chasing him.
You hear Goslin going, you hear Goslin going, "Nice, daddy, daddy, daddy." And Launchpad's worried he doesn't have his shots.
Yep. But little did they know, Darkwing's still in the bushes.
Now he wanders off, and Negaduck comes across Darkwing's wanted posters and realizes, hey, if I capture Darkwing, I can get the $1 million.
Yep.
And how long has the episode been? About 10 minutes now? And only now are Darkwing and Negaduck actually going to meet in the episode. That's why it's a shame that opening scene didn't happen, because they haven't had any interaction yet.
Yeah.
But some really funny stuff's about to happen now.
Yeah, so we got Darkwing. He pops up. He's hiding behind the bench, where there's an old lady and a baby.
Mm-hmm. So Negaduck grabs Darkwing. Darkwing takes a look at the baby. And what does Darkwing transform into?
He turns into the baby.
And the old lady, and wait, not the old lady, the mob shows up again.
Yeah.
And it tells Negaduck, you can't fool us, Darkwing, with that stupid yellow suit.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those moments where Negaduck is totally licked. Like he's a coward here. He gets jumped.
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole mob beats up Negaduck. He puts baby Darkwing back in the stroller. And Darkwing transforms back into himself. And it's funny. The baby takes a look at the wanted poster, and the baby goes, "Goo goo, $1 million."
Yep. So now the baby wants the reward.
And starts beating Darkwing with the rattle.
Yep. So Darkwing takes off, and he's in the rat catcher. Yay! I love when we get rat catcher scenes.
I love the rat catcher. The rat catcher figures into this scene pretty heavily. Darkwing's picking wanted posters off of things. And then sees a beaten up Negaduck. Darkwing mows Negaduck down with the rat catcher and starts fighting with him.
Mm-hmm.
And this next scene is so great. They drive past an orchestra, and then what happens to Darkwing?
He turns into the violinist.
And Negaduck goes, "Ugh, how do you do that?"
Now, this scene I thought was... Obviously, Mike, it doesn't make sense, but it's funny. It's really funny. It makes zero sense whatsoever. But they fall off the bridge while they're on the rat catcher. This has to be the world's highest bridge, because they're like falling forever. And like you can see the all of St. Canard when they first fall off the bridge too. We got parachutes. We got them just flapping their arms. And this is like the longest fall forever off a bridge.
Yeah, I mean, first they're falling, and Darkwing is still the violinist, and Negaduck is freaking out. He's terrified. Darkwing turns back into himself, and Negaduck actually kind of steps back and lets Darkwing try to save him. He puts a parachute on the rat catcher and says he's going to save them. He opens up the chute. The only thing that goes back up in the air on the parachute is the rat catcher, and they keep falling.
Yep. It is like the longest fall ever from a bridge, like, come on, I mean, for an adult, obviously it makes no sense, but a child is going to laugh it off,
Hey, I'm laughing.
Yeah, well, I'm laughing too. I thought it was funny, but
it's great.
Yeah.
So the silliness is going to start really ramping up here. Darkwing goes back to the tower, and they have the Chihuahua there, and they're trying to get it to eat dog biscuits, and Launchpad's eating the dog biscuits. That's a little much. So Goslin's trying to get the dog to talk to her. Darkwing comes in and says something behind her back, and Goslin goes, Finally, it must be wearing off. And she hugs the dog. And so Darkwing turns into somebody else. Who does he turn into?
LP? No, he turns into Gauze. He
Yeah,
turned into Gauze first.
I didn't mention it, but for those of you who haven't seen it, and if you haven't seen the episode, stop listening to us and go watch the episode. Whenever Darkwing transforms, he's always stays the same size, no matter who the character is he's transforming into. He always has his beak and the cheeks.
Yep.
So you always know it's him. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he turns into a pretty freaky looking Goslin with those cheeks and the beak.
Yeah.
And starts playing house hockey.
And he shoots and he scores.
Yep. But that's not all he transforms into.
Nope. Now he turns into LP.
I really love when Jim imitates Launchpad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, which is the voice you said he struggled with? Which character is that?
I thought he struggled with LP.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like
It doesn't sound like him, but he's got the tune and everything with the Hamburger Hippo and
yeah.
You know.
They sing the Hamburger Hippo theme. I forgot how it goes. It goes, hey, 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 when you're hungry, don't be a dippo. Come on down to the sign of the hippo. Launchpad loves his Hamburger Hippo.
Oh, yeah.
So Darkwing, as Launchpad, gets an idea, Will. What does he do?
He gets a terrible idea. He thinks he can fly the Thunderquack.
Yeah. This is my favorite scene in the episode, period. This is my favorite scene. That's why it was in the video we made. Mm-hmm. Negaduck is searching for Darkwing in the city.
He's searching everywhere, in dumpsters and sewers.
And Darkwing has just turned back into himself and realizes he can't fly a plane. So Negaduck looks up, sees the Thunderquack spiraling down towards him. Negaduck revs up his chainsaw and says, all right, Darkwing, come to Papa. And then, bam, he's crushed by the Thunderquack. Mm-hmm. So now, this next scene, something really weird happens in it, and I will explain why. Darkwing comes back to the tower. His costume is fine, and he says he's going to change. He jumps behind a changing screen and comes out with the same costume and is like, how do I look? What should have happened after the Thunderquack crushed Negaduck? There was a scene where Darkwing gets out of the broken Thunderquack and he says, I can't fly as good as Launchpad, but I can sure crash like him. And all of a sudden he turns around and the entire army is there and they open fire on him. They're like, hold it right there. And Darkwing throws his hands up and they're like, he moved, fire. And they all fire on him. And when he comes up to the hideout, he is all like tattered and shot up. And that's why he has to go change. But in the finished episode, it makes no sense why he goes to change. Does it?
Mm-hmm. No, it don't make sense at all. I thought it was just a gag.
No, it's like the thing with the Sea of Tranquility joke from Bad Tidings with the map. This makes more sense if you know what was cut out. Now, Darkwing gets his worst idea yet. What is he? He's starting to have doubts about how to catch Negaduck. And the only thing he could come up with is if he turns into Negaduck, he would think like Negaduck and he would know where Negaduck is. So he goes to his case files and pulls out Negaduck's mugshot. Yup. Yeah, that doesn't go well.
No, but it's funny for the viewers though.
Yeah, Gosling goes, somehow I don't think this is one of Dad's better ideas.
Yeah. But then we get Sara Bellum again.
She fixed the ray.
Yep.
But Darkwing as Negaduck goes, Darkwing won't be needing any ray. He'll need an ambulance.
Yeah.
Oh, he's great. He pulls out an acetylene torch and destroys the computer console and then goes after Goslin with it.
And LP.
But he turns on Goslin and goes, you want to play Moth and the Flame, Snookums? And the act break as he's just advancing toward the camera and laughing as Negaduck. It's really good. I notice in this scene, like Jim is basically doing Negaduck's voice.
Yeah.
But later on, when Darkwing fights Negaduck as Negaduck, he's not doing it like that anymore.
It makes sense why they didn't, but we'll get to that part later.
We will.
Yeah.
So Goslin and Launchpad get away. Tell us how.
They fell on the cable wires of the bridge.
Mm-hmm. And Darkwing as Negaduck says, forget them. They're not important. I got bigger fish to fry. And heads off.
Yep. And then we get Negaduck. He's watching the news.
Yeah. Where is his hideout?
It was that tuna place.
Mm-hmm.
What was it called? Wacky or something?
The mascot's name is Wacky Mackerel. Okay. Who is he? Who's he a parody of?
We were talking about this earlier. I thought it was chicken under the sea, of the sea.
It's Charlie the Tuna.
Charlie the Tuna.
He was a Sunkissed mascot.
Sunkissed. Man, we just talked about this.
I know. It's all right. It's all right.
I'm not a big tuna, guys. I'm not a big tuna person.
So Negaduck's watching the news, and Tom Lockjaw is still talking about how Darkwing's out there committing crimes. And Negaduck's like, when I find the little Pollyanna, I'll break every bone in his body twice. Mm-hmm. And he says Pollyanna, which was a Disney movie. Nice Disney shout out. Mm-hmm. But then who shows up?
Darkwing as Negaduck.
Okay, you love this scene. I love this scene. What do they do?
It's the duel of who has the bigger weapon.
Mm-hmm. It's I know Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd do that in an old cartoon, Rabbit of Seville. I think this might be referencing that.
It might be. You know what? It probably is. I remember that one.
In that cartoon, he has the cannon, he has the missile, he has the big shotgun. They go back and forth, and that's pretty much what they do here.
Yeah, they go all out. They go from battleships to aircrafts and bazookas.
And ICBM, yeah.
They're all over the place with it.
And then Launchpad, Bellum, and Goslin show up. Mm-hmm. With the ray. And Goslin starts really throwing her weight around. This is like, Goslin doesn't have a lot to do, but I think she's very funny in this climax because she's bossing Sara Bellum around. And she's like, what are you waiting for? Zap him. But I like Bellum here. She goes, eeny, meeny, miny, zap. But she hits the wrong one.
Yeah, she is Negaduck instead.
So what does Negaduck turn into?
He turned into... Dang, I'm trying to... Oh, that's later. I was thinking he turned into that sailor guy.
Not yet.
I'm trying to remember. Mackerel. The tuna, that's right.
There's a little song and dance and everything. Mm-hmm. Darkwing jumps him, and the two of them fall out a window. This is another of my favorite bits in the episode. Bellum, Launchpad, and Goslin are watching through the window, and Goslin goes, what does he say? She runs off, and she goes, come on, what are we waiting for? And Bellum turns to Launchpad and goes, who is this pushy kid? Because I don't think Goslin's ever been around anybody from Shush before. I think this is the only time.
Yeah.
So this fight goes all sorts of crazy. Mm-hmm. Darkwing turns into a lobster. And Negaduck turns into, you said it before.
The sailor.
Yeah, the sailor. And, they're running back and forth, fighting each other. The lobster pinches the sailor's finger. The sailor wants to cook the lobster, back and forth and back and forth. And Goslin is still being totally bossy. She's like, here, give me that ray. How does Darkwing defeat Negaduck? Who does he turn into?
He turns into she shoots DW, then DW shoots Negaduck, and Negaduck turns into normal, and then he turns into Goz. That's it. There we go. Yeah.
And he hits a cam with the hockey puck. It bounces off for several things, slams Negaduck right in the head and knocks him out.
Yeah, knocks him out, man.
And then Goslin's jumping up and down on the pier. She smacks a board, which smacks the ray. Zaps Darkwing again, which seems to cure him, and he's fine.
Yep. And then the police show up.
Yep. And for the second time in the finished episode at least, Darkwing's got guns surrounding him once again. Mm-hmm. But this time he can prove it was Negaduck. Once again, he pulls off Negaduck's outfit, and he's wearing the boxer shorts again from out of nowhere.
Yeah.
With the skull and crossbones on them. And the police apologize. All seems well. But not quite, because Take Us Home, Will, how does it end?
They all get hit with the ray, and then they all turn into Darkwing.
Everybody. Bellum, Launchpad, Goslin, and all the cops.
Yep.
And they're yeah.
Yeah, we are the terror that flaps in the night.
Let's get dangerous. It's a really fun. Like, we end with Darkwing just like done. Mm-hmm. Like, this is he's done. I love this episode. It's really, really funny.
Yeah, it's not one of our tier 1 episodes,
No,
Mike,
no.
but it's a good one. It's a really good one, man. It's one of those episodes when you like somebody who does not want to watch every episode,
Yeah.
and you tell them the tier 1s, you tell them the tier 2s, and then they're like, you know what, man, I'm really starting to like it. What should I watch next? This is one of the ones you come up with next.
This is up there with like Adopt-A-Con and Going Nowhere Fast.
Mm-hmm.
Episodes you don't immediately think of,
Mm-hmm.
but then you watch and you're like, this is funny. I enjoy this one.
Yeah, it's a really good one, man.
I mean, the premise is great. Darkwing transforming into other characters, and it gives Jim a chance to really have fun with the voice. And Negaduck's in it.
Well, Negaduck, man, he had the chainsaw in it. I saw an axe. I don't know what it's called, but that thing with the spike, it's like a ball with the spikes
Mace.
coming out of it. Okay, yeah, he had that.
He had torch.
He had the butcher knife.
Yeah.
He had everything in here, dude.
Yeah. This was made around the time they realized that Negaduck's funny when he's super lethal.
Mm-hmm.
Like this in terms of like the production numbers, this was right around my Valentine Ghoul and all of that stuff when the writers really knew what to do with Negaduck.
Mm-hmm.
And the better weapons, like the crazier weapons you give him, the funnier he is.
Yeah, and Jim has the voice. It's down packed now.
I love like where he's brought the Negaduck voice.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not Darkwing at all anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's his own thing. Yeah. I love it.
All right, so how many gas gun canisters are we gonna give this episode?
I'm really waffled on this one. In the end, because I've thought about this one for a long time. This is not one of my favorites, but I think it's so funny. I'm gonna give it a 4.
Hey, okay.
Because it's just an example of a Darkwing episode that's just really, really well written.
Yeah.
And having Negaduck in it brings it home. So it's a good 4-star episode.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to co-sign you on this because I was thinking really hard, man. I was like, obviously the tier 1s get the 5 stars, the tier 2s get the 4.5, and I was like, where would this one land? It's not a great episode, but it's close, it's up there, it's strong, it's funny. So I was like, I'm gonna go 4. And I really feel that 4 is strong. It's all around. Like you said, Jim is all over the place. He does a fantastic job. Negaduck is strong on this one. Like, even though you said it was 10 minutes before they finally meet on the finished product, but it works though, man. It really works. And then like every time they get back together, it was like there was just so much contrast with them, you know? And,
I love their relationship too. Darkwing always has something insulting to say to him, but Negaduck always brushes it off.
Yeah. Now, really quick, Mike, the scene we were talking about when they got to the duel scene where they were pulling out the bigger weapon, that is the scene where when Darkwing is Negaduck, he has the normal Darkwing voice. And I purposely think they did that so the audience or children wouldn't be confused.
Yeah, I think so too. Because, like I said, when he first transformed, like he's really talking like Negaduck. Yeah. But then when he fights Negaduck, he just has that angry Darkwing voice that Negaduck had in the Secret Origins episode.
Yeah. And I think it makes sense for children. I really do. You know, because they both got on the black mask. They both have on the yellow suit, you know.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, they had to.
It doesn't bother me. It's just it was an interesting vocal choice to do it like that, 2 separate ways.
Yeah, but it's a great episode, man. It's so funny overall. It really doesn't have no down spot where you're not entertained at all. No, man. I really like it.
I think it might take a little bit to get going to the transformation stuff, and I think that's why that opening scene was cut out entirely, because it would have slowed the episode down. I totally get it, but once this one starts going though, like once he's zapped and starts transforming, it doesn't let up.
Yeah. Okay, so Mike, man, that's the sky's the limit. What episode we got next?
We are taking a bit of a drop. Like we have hit classic after classic lately, haven't we?
Oh man, why you gotta start off bad news like that?
Because Comic Guy is coming back. Yeah, and his first episode was all right. This one's not as good, unfortunately. Next time we'll be talking about Planet of the Capes.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. There's a couple of good moments, so guys, stick around and listen to it because there's a couple of decent scenes. But we're not fans of comic guy at the St. Canard Files. We're really not.
Nah.
But nobody's a fan of comic guy. Let's admit.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we're gonna wrap up this episode. Make sure you guys follow us on Facebook. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and Twitter. We're also on YouTube. And man, shout out to our YouTubers, man. You guys are coming in strong recently. Our views are going up. Our comments are going up. You know, that just helps us, man. I really, really appreciate you guys on YouTube, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, there've been a lot more comments recently.
Yeah, and our views, man. Our views have spiked up on it, man, on YouTube.
I think the virtual panel helped.
And you know what? This is gonna sound kind of odd and sexist of me, but I don't care, man. Shout out to the women. I looked up our analytics, and the women are destroying the men on our views. So shout out to the women who follow us and listen to us, man. Appreciate it so much.
But
guys, step your game up.
Man, don't be offended. Keep listening, please.
Yeah, guys, step your game up, man. These women are killing us. I think it was like 62% of women listen to our podcast over men.
The good women like Darkwing, the bad ones like Negaduck.
All right, guys. So like that's it for this episode. The sky's the limit. Mike, one more time. What episode's next?
Planet of the Capes.
Oh God.
We'll make it enjoyable. We'll try.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good one and make sure you stay dangerous.
Yep. Good night.
Good night, everybody.